So, what if the US government could actually get more done with half the money? It's a pretty wild idea, right? Well, that's just one of the explosive claims from Elon Musk that we're going to break down today. We'll be going from massive systemic fraud all the way to a future where AI could make work itself, well, obsolete.
Musk really kicks things off with a statement that's just impossible to ignore. He says he could cut the federal budget in half and actually improve the output. Now that's a radical idea, and it really sets the stage for his whole diagnosis of what he thinks is going wrong.
Okay, so how on earth could a cut that massive even be possible? Well, it all starts with Musk's diagnosis of waste on a scale that's kind of hard to believe.
According to Musk, this isn't about, a few bad apples or typical corruption. He's talking about a system that is literally bleeding billions of dollars. And not always through deliberate theft, but through just simple, unchecked procedural failures. He says these are cracks in the system so deep, the government itself doesn't even know how much is leaking out.
A perfect example of this is something Musk calls zombie payments. Just think about this for a second. A government employee approves a recurring payment. Then they retire, or they switch jobs, or maybe they even pass away. But that automated payment, it just keeps on going and going, sometimes for years, with absolutely no one left to hit the off switch.
And the scale of just this one problem is pretty staggering. Musk estimates that these zombie payments alone could be draining over $100 billion a year from the budget. I mean, that's a jaw-dropping number for what seems like a pretty basic administrative mistake.
But as Musk sees it, these zombie payments, they're really just the tip of the iceberg. This kind of accidental waste is actually a symptom of a much, much deeper problem. A system that's incredibly vulnerable to massive, intentional fraud. And this brings us to the core of his accusation. He's talking about a huge systemic fraud that he calls the bank shot scam.
Musk really gets to the heart of the problem with this one single kind of bizarre question. Why are government databases filled with millions of impossible people? And he's talking about profiles for individuals who, if you look at their listed birth dates, would have to be 150 years old, or maybe haven't even been born yet.
And he puts a number to it. He says there are roughly 20 million of these profiles just lurking in the Social Security database. Now, not all of them are actively getting money, but he claims their very existence in the system is the key that unlocks all this widespread fraud.
He calls this whole thing the bank shot scam. And it works because the Social Security database is basically treated as the ultimate source of truth by all these other government agencies. So you can see, if that one central database is flawed, that flaw just infects the entire system.
So here's how he says the scam actually works. A fraudster grabs one of those 20 million impossible profiles. Then another agency, say for a student loan, queries the Social Security database to check if the person is real. The system incorrectly validates that impossible profile as alive, and boom, a fraudulent payment gets approved.
The total financial damage from this, according to Musk's allegations, is just enormous. He claims this single vulnerability makes fraud possible across the entire government, costing hundreds of billions of dollars every single year.
So that brings up a really obvious question, right? If the flaw is this huge, why isn't it fixed? Well, in Musk's view, and this is highly controversial, it's not an accident. He alleges it's actually a deliberate political strategy. He claims these funds act as a money spigot to incentivize illegal immigration, which he then asserts the Democratic Party uses to import voters.
So while Musk is clearly focused on fixing today's problems, he also spends a lot of time thinking about tomorrow's world. And he sees a future driven by AI, that he thinks will make all these current government fights look like ancient history.
Musk imagines this massive shift in how we all live. We'd go from a world of scarcity to a world of just radical abundance. He predicts that AI and robotics will soon be able to produce almost anything we could ever need, creating a society so prosperous that our current battles over resources are going to seem completely absurd. I mean, think about how we use technology today. We open up our apps, we search for things. In the future Musk describes, all of that just goes away. AI will simply anticipate what you want, a song, a movie, some piece of information, and it'll just deliver it to you. Your phone's home screen would basically become a relic of the past. And he's not talking about some far-off, distant future either. He's predicting that in just 5 or 6 years, the whole idea of apps and operating systems will feel as old as a Blockbuster rental card. Your phone is just going to become a portal for an AI that creates whatever content you want on the fly. So this future of radical abundance leads to what he calls universal high income. Forget universal basic income. In a world where AI and robots can produce almost anything for next to nothing, he argues that everyone can have access to a really high standard of living, simply because the entire concept of scarcity has been broken.
And this vision leaves us with the ultimate question. If AI can do everything better, faster, and cheaper than us humans, what's left for people to do? In a world where there's no more struggle, how will humanity find its purpose? And that's the really profound challenge that Musk leaves us all to think about.